staring out into space, asking God to hear my case, trying to think of all things past. How long will my memory last? The purple angel, purple angel, purple angel, you're next to me.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. This is Lori LeBay, your host and founder of Alzheimer Speaks. We started Alzheimer Speaks because my mom lived with dementia symptoms for 30 years and just felt that we needed some new platforms and new tools out there in terms of dealing with this disease. And so Alzheimer Speaks was born. Bottom line, we're an advocacy-based company providing multiple platforms that shift our dementia care culture from crisis to comfort around the world. And we believe that it's just critical for us to join forces and share knowledge and have these everyday conversations like we do on Alzheimer Speaks Radio. We need to talk about what is life really like and how can we remove stigmas attached to cognitive impairment and help people continue to live with purpose and also assist those who are caring for those diagnosed. At our core, Alzheimer Speaks believes collaboration is the only way we're going to win this battle against dementia, and I know it's working because of all of your likes and clicks and shares of our resources. Each of you has had a huge impact on raising not only our profile, but just by giving people more information out there about dementia. You got us named as the number one influencer online, according to ShareCare and Dr. Oz. And again, we cannot thank you enough for that recognition because it wouldn't have happened without you. And we really encourage you to, as you're listening, go ahead and share this show with your sphere of influences. If it's your Facebook friends, your Twitter tribe, your Pinterest peeps, your, Google colleagues, or, LinkedIn folks, it doesn't make any difference. There are so many people out there dealing with dementia that don't talk about it, that you don't even know are dealing with it. And the more information we can push out in front of them, the more comfortable they're going to feel to grab it and engage and learn. And that's really what it's all about. So again, thank you all so much for raising our profile and sharing information, because Alzheimer's Speaks isn't a one-way or the highway type program. We really do believe in raising everyone's voice. And that's why we're excited today to have with us as a co-host, I have Harry Urban with us from Pennsylvania. Welcome, Harry.
Hey, well, thank you, Roy, for having me.
Well, do you want to tell people a little bit about you? Because I think you just have a fascinating little bio there.
I'm not sure how fascinating it is, but 13 years ago, I was diagnosed with dementia, the Alzheimer's type. And like everybody else, I went through the hardships of living with dementia. I had quite a few pity parties and everything else, but it didn't take me long to realize that's not for me. And I started advocating for a better life for all of us living with dementia.
Yeah, you have a pretty amazing history in terms of what Harry has done. He has a group on Facebook called Forget Me Nots. He's been involved with Dementia Mentors. You even spun off a Spanish-speaking group using translation to help people connect. And so he has a passion to make a change here, and I just feel so honored to have you with us as my co-host today. Our guest today is Jed Levine, and he is the Executive Vice President and Director of Programs and Services at CaringKind. And for those of you who don't know what CaringKind is CaringKind was formerly the Alzheimer's Association of New York City chapter. and they basically pulled away and created CaringKind, and they have been New York City's leading experts in Alzheimer's and dementia care for more than 3 decades. Jen has been with the organization himself for 27 years. He holds a master's degree in applied human development, which specializes in gerontology and community recreation services from Columbia University's Teachers College. And he is also trained as a creative arts therapist. He has his postgraduate training in group process from the Center of Advancement of Group Studies, and he is pursuing. It sounds like Jed likes to learn, because he is pursuing his certification in psychoanalytic training program at the Center for Human Development. So, welcome to the show, Jed. How are you today?
I'm fine, Lori, and thank you so much for asking me to, share this information today. And I couldn't agree more with your intro that, there are many roads to Rome, and the more that people learn and share information, first of all, the less alone they feel, and the better they are prepared to deal with either having Alzheimer's or a related disorder or caring for someone.
Well, thank you. Well, before we get started with the line of questioning that I have for you, I always like to ask our guests if they have been personally touched in their own family or circle of friends with somebody with dementia.
Well, yes, actually. Although when I first started, which is so many years ago now, that was not the case. But over the years, both of my grandmothers had some kind of dementia, one when I was quite young and another when I was much more an adult, and then several aunts and uncles. And my dad had some kind of cognitive impairment, probably related to a medical condition. So I have personally lived with this and know how exhausting it is and how demanding it is, but also know that there are opportunities for engagement and connection and to be with that person in a new way.
Yeah, the gifts I think are so under talked about when it comes to this disease. And, with my journey with my mom, who had it for 30 years, I always tell people her disease is my biggest gift, because she just taught me so many life lessons during that 30 years that I wouldn't have gotten, I don't believe, without her illness in hand. And it was just really a beautiful side to the disease process. If you choose to look for it, you will find it there. Now, CaringKind has just announced a brand new program called Comfort Matters, and it's going to revolutionize dementia care in long-term facilities. So, tell us about this. I'm really excited to hear more about Comfort Matters.
Well, Comfort Matters is an evidence-based program developed by our partners at Beatitudes campus in Phoenix, Arizona. And what it does is present a whole new way, a whole new paradigm of caring for people with advanced dementia. We're starting looking at first initially in nursing homes, but now we're trying to apply this to every setting where people with advanced dementia live. And it was an answer for us to the question that we had been struggling with, because we'd done a lot of training with nursing homes and we had tried to help improve care. We were really trying to answer the question, what should our role as an organization, as an advocacy and support and education organization be in helping to improve care for people in residential care who have dementia? And I hired a consultant who had many years of experience working in nursing homes, and she heard about this model, and we sent her out to Phoenix, and she came back and said, they have it. They got it. It really works. Now, it took the Beatitudes folks a long time to get to where they are, and but we've learned a lot from them and from our partnership with them. So what we wanted to do was to bring this comfort-based approach to person-centered care for people with dementia to New York City, see how it works in a large urban environment where our homes are generally much larger than they are in the rest of the country, and to see what we needed to do to bring this approach to care, which can really which really focuses on each individual's individual comfort and what organizational adaptations needed to take place, how are we going to get this done, and how are we going to do it so that it would be sustainable and it would continue to grow, and that's exactly what we're seeing.
Okay. Now, one of my favorite sayings of Harry's, and I say this just about every time I speak because I love it, and I think it probably goes into your comfort matters. Is Harry said one time when we were doing, I think it was a dementia chats, he said, I like to relax before I got dementia. I still do, and just knowing what a person's comfort zone is. And when they're feeling centered and when they're feeling balanced. Harry, what does this Comfort Matters program sound like to you? Is that something that would be appealing to you if you ever had to, let's say, move into a care facility?
My whole life is based around that. I believe in care before cure. I visit so many nursing facilities, and I get to meet people in all various stages of dementia, and I sit down and I talk with them, and I don't care what stage they're in, they all have the same common problems. And to me, living this disease, being around it for so long, it is just common sense to me, but to others, it's not, because they are not able to enter into our world. So they don't know what comfort is to us. They try to keep us busy. They think that we always have to be busy because if we don't, who knows what's going to happen to us. But if somebody is just sitting in their chair and the first thing they think is, well, you can't communicate with them. But it's not. They're in the comfort zone, and let them go.
Harry, I couldn't agree with you more. That I think one of the basic principles of our approach and the approach of the Beatitudes is that each individual with dementia is their expert on what makes them comfortable. And the fact that having a disease like dementia or Alzheimer's is tiring. And people need to rest. And so one of the pinnacles, one of the principles of the approach is allowing people to rest when they're tired. And you said common sense. It absolutely is common sense. And allowing people to eat what they want to eat when they want to eat it. So a really liberalized diet. Activities of daily living like dressing and shaving and brushing your teeth and grooming and all of that are done on each individual's terms. And people can, participate in activities that they enjoy when they want to, and they're allowed to just kind of, relax on their own if they want to as well. So it's, and underneath this, kind of one of the major principles is that as the disease progresses and people no longer can communicate in words, they're going to communicate through their behaviors, through their actions. And very often when somebody looks like they're upset or angry or distressed, they're going to express that through behavior. And often that's because they are in pain and they can't tell you they're in pain, but their behavior is communicating that. So being able to identify pain and then treat it appropriately can make everybody more comfortable.
Makes a lot of sense. Can you tell us, Jed, why did you guys decide to kind of take a key role in creating this innovative training project? It was exciting for us to have this vision and have this goal of really improving care for people with dementia in the advanced stages who are in nursing homes, because despite some really well-meant efforts
and people struggling to do good work. And I know I worked in nursing homes myself for many, many years. I know there were really good people trying to do good work, but there wasn't a system that supported it. And when we found the model that Beatitudes had, it was like, let's see if we can make this work in New York City. And it took a long time. It took a lot of money, a lot of funders. It took we decided originally we were going to use one nursing home, and then our consultant Anne said, let's make it 2 or 3, because competition is not a bad thing, and also to see which principles were going to be universal across the 3 settings and which were going to be specific to each of the organizations that we were working in. So it was a matter of having this vision of bringing this Comfort Matters program to 3 nursing homes who had already made an investment in good care. But even with that, they were frustrated that they knew they could do better, but didn't have the tools to do it. And now they've been given the tools to do it. And we started this program in July of 2012. So it's been almost 5 years now, been 4.5 years. So we've seen a lot of progress. And the most wonderful thing is that the 3 homes each have at least one unit that's now been accredited by Comfort Matters at Beatitudes, and they are looking at expanding that accreditation to other units in the nursing homes because it works. And once you see it works, you can't kind of unlearn it. Mm-hmm. You know that this is a model of care really for everybody.
Okay. How are they dealing with, and I know here in Minnesota we have such a high rate of turnover of staff. And when I go around the country and speak, I hear that all over. How are they dealing with that to be able to maintain that knowledge and that training for their staff?
Well, one of the things we have found, and that certainly Beatitudes has found as well, is that staff turnover is reduced as a result of the training. People want to work on the dementia units. That's a rarity. That's unheard of. And so the program itself is kind of self-rewarding in that way for the homes that are engaged in it. And there is an identified kind of unit coordinator, Comfort Matters specialist, who works with all of the staff and brings new people on board and does the training and the education and the mentoring in order for people to kind of get what this means to do it in this way. And this becomes a standard of care, an expectation of how we're going to be treating people with dementia. Their families are engaged. They understand that this is the model. They love this model. And what one family member I remember said, you gave me my husband back and you gave me my life back. So grateful for finding a place after her husband had been rejected from several nursing homes and ended up in a psychiatric unit because he had behavioral symptoms that were actually very well managed using the Comfort Matters approach, because they understand who he is, when he wanted to sleep, when he wanted to eat, what he wanted to eat, what he liked to do, and they provided an environment where he could flourish.
Now, can I ask, in this program, is it just direct care and medical staff that are trained, or is housekeeping and maintenance and
everybody?
Okay.
Everybody.
I love that.
Everybody. So recreation therapy, social work, dietary, the housekeeping staff, and often those are the folks who really know and can get engaged with people. And it's not only the direct, the CNAs, the certified nursing assistants, and the nurses and the doctors, but it's everybody. And what was critical to its success was that the administrators, the folks who run the place, were bought into this idea and encouraged staff, supported staff, and made this investment in staff training and implementation of the program. So having that leadership, but having it go down through every layer of the organization, and also critical to its success was the weekly meeting on the unit that was interdepartmental. Everybody on that unit met and talked about, problem solved, understood what was going right and what needed to improve, and that those meetings are still ongoing today.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that whole span of kind of maintenance to administration, because I think, like you said, some of those are key players that really aren't given credit for their interactions with residents. And I think that that's really important. Harry, how does that make you feel that a program like this is being instituted and hopefully will expand?
I was going to jump in to ask some questions because this is a topic that is very dear to my heart. There's so many facilities say we're dementia friendly. Well, what is dementia friendly? Nobody knows. Everybody has their own concept of dementia friendly. Now, when I'm sitting here listening, I'm hearing of Hogan in the dementia friendly in the Netherlands, which is a true dementia friendly community. In other words, it's an enclosed facility, but everybody has to be trained to be around dementia people. The staff, not only the staff, but if you had a plumber come in, the plumber would be trained on dementia friendly. How to be around somebody living with dementia. Electricians, everybody else. Nobody really has that concept, but I'm really excited about what I'm hearing now, that there is such a program that is beginning to understand, beginning to look through our eyes what we want. A lot of times people look at us and they say, well, he has a behavior problem. So what they do is they try to fix it, or they try to hide it. And instead of
medicate
it, find out what it is.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And at the very base of this is saying, we need to look at everything through the lens of the person with dementia. And what are they trying to communicate through their behavior, if it is a behavior, quote, problem? And often, people are tried to be, physicians will medicate somebody and inappropriately medicate them and give them antipsychotic medications, which does nothing to improve the behavior, and it may remove that individual's only means of communication and not solving the underlying problem, which might be that they are in pain or something else. So I couldn't agree with you more. It's a really critical principle of the palliative care approach.
One thing I'd also like to add to it, that is we need more programs on how to communicate with somebody with dementia. I would like to see sign language being taught to people with dementia in the early stages, simply because I see it so often. Somebody gets into the later stages of dementia, the first thing they do, they see him rubbing their head or something, and somebody comes up and says, do you have a headache? They plant that seed. And of course, the person with dementia is going to say, yeah. Things like that. They don't know how to communicate. But with American Sign Language, if the person with dementia can learn that at an early stage, if they do have a pain and they do have a hurt someplace, they don't have to verbally talk to somebody. They can use sign language to use the sign for my shoulder hurt, I have a headache, I have a toothache, whatever. I'm hungry, I'm cold, I'm hot. Things like that. But I don't see, at least here in Pennsylvania, I'm pushing for it, but I don't see too many programs like that being instituted.
We use in our Comfort Matters program a behavior-based pain assessment tool. So it might not be as specific about where a pain is, but so that individuals who are caring for the person with dementia can better read their nonverbal communication and their facial expression, their breathing, their perhaps verbal outbursts or physical outbursts, and understand that something is going on and that it's not just, quote, the way they are, which is sometimes you hear, or that it's behavior that needs to be controlled by antipsychotic medications.
That's what I was trying to draw out. What methods is it? Because what you described was perfect in my eyes, but most people don't know that.
Right.
Most people don't know. Look into their eyes to see if they're in pain. Things like that. But when you said that, I mean that was perfect.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I think the nonverbal skills in terms of communication, we kind of forget how powerful they are, and that they're 3/4 of actually our communication as a whole. And when disease comes about, people really kind of detach because they're in a scattered state. They're kind of in crisis and things. So I would imagine your program works a lot on helping people utilize those nonverbals and be able to investigate what they're seeing and how they're kind of putting that investigative hat on, trying to figure out what's what, and sometimes it's trial and error. I mean, we're not always going to get it perfect. And
we always say, we need to be detectives. We need to find out, kind of understand what is the basis for this new behavior or this change. And also we can use non-verbal communication as a means to console somebody and to comfort them and to soothe them. So there are lots of ways to provide that without verbal communication.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was saying that if people want to learn more about the Palliative Care Project, we have a guideline that we published called Palliative Care for People with Dementia, Why Comfort Matters in Long-Term Care. And they can get that on our website at CaringKindNYC.org. And you'll see under publications or in the palliative care section that it's there. And in there also is information about that behavior-based pain assessment tool called Pain AD, or Pain Assessment in Advanced Dementia Scale. And so that might be helpful for some folks.
Yeah. Well, and I think, maybe I should have you back up a second, and because a lot of our audience probably doesn't even know what palliative care is. We hear about hospice, but why don't you just give us your definition of palliative care?
Palliative care is actually very simple. Palliative care is the treatment of or prevention of distress and treatment, keeping people comfortable. And it should be applied no matter where somebody is, even, in any kind of a disease. We all want to be comfortable. It's very, it is a component of hospice care, but hospice care is limited to those folks who are determined to have 6 months left of life. Palliative care should be integrated into all aspects of care, even if one has a treatable illness, and often palliative care is associated with cancer care or with HIV/AIDS care. What's really, I think, so remarkable about our program is that we are really connecting palliative care approaches to people with dementia, and why it's so important to understand the unique needs of people with dementia and the unique skills that people need to have in order to provide palliative care to them.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. Harry, any comment you want to make there?
No, that is. I am really anxious to look that up and get a copy of those guidelines. I'd like to read over them.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Well, we've kind of talked a little bit about what makes Comfort Matters so innovative, but is there anything else that you want to add to our conversation so far on that?
Well, I think, not only is it, it's intuitively the right thing to do, And I think we all want to be comfortable. And comfort is a concept that everybody can understand. I think when we talk about person-centered care, I think it's a little more vague, although I think it's important. And I think also to back up this intuitive approach that it's the right way, and we see the results when we do it. But the initial project involved a very extensive evaluation. So we were looking at a variety of outcomes. We were looking at staff knowledge and attitudes towards palliative care for people with dementia. We were looking at resident behavior. We were looking also at costs. And we were looking at the pharmacies, the pharmaceutical use, seeing were there any changes. And although the actual evaluation component of our project was just the first 12 months of the project, and we've moved on a great deal from there, we did see that there was a decreased use of antipsychotics, which is something that's supported by the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, by CMS, and an increase in pain medications, which is important. And we also found out that this was kind of a cost-neutral approach, same staffing as any other nursing home, and we were able to, manage the costs so that it did not cost more to provide really good care. And that, I think, is very important and will be very attractive to the nursing home industry.
I would like to think so. Everybody's budgets are so tight these days, and that is a huge, huge factor. And I think one of the things that you've been talking about too, and I don't know all the specifics of the program, but it sounds like there's a simplicity to the program, so it's easy for people to get, and that I love, because that's when I go out and I speak and I train, I always say if it's complicated, it's not going to work. It's got to be simple, it's got to be heartfelt, and then that's how we really shift our culture is making these little teeny changes that have huge impact. Walking the walk and letting others see it by example, and it just kind of infuses a culture change all on its own. Is that kind of what you saw with the attitudes? Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, and I think we didn't have to prove the merits of the Comfort Matters approach, because Beatitude had done a lot of evidence-based work to prove the effectiveness of it. What we were challenged with was, how is this going to work in a large setting where there are a large number of staff, many different departments? What organizationally did we have to what kind of adaptations had to take place in order for this to work well? And that was very much our role at CaringKind, was to kind of be the coach and the cheerleader, and helping people identify areas where there were communication problems, or there was, we didn't want this to be seen as just Karen's program. We wanted this to be seen as the facilities program, and everybody has a role. Everybody has a responsibility to make this work. And because it does work, it is, people wanted to participate. And indeed, there were, I remember one home saying that when the surveyors came from the state, they wanted to kind of be on the dementia unit because it was the quietest, it was the calmest, it was the easiest place for them to get their work done.
Well, you don't hear that too often.
Not the usual state. I mean, it's huge.
Yep.
So this is, it's something that it reinforces itself, is what I'm trying to say. But it needs that person at the top who's going to keep reinforcing how important this is for everybody. And I remember when I first spoke to the director at Beatitudes, and I asked her, I said, it's wonderful that you give everybody permission to do this program. I said, we don't give them permission. We expect everybody to do it. So this is their standard of care. This is their approach. And now we were the first 3 homes in New York State to do this. There are other homes around the country that have become certified by or accredited rather by Comfort Matters at Beatitudes campus. So there's a lot of interest in this, and it's because it works. Everybody benefits. The resident with dementia, the staff who are working on that unit, the families, everybody. The families want to visit more because it's a more pleasant and loving place to be.
Wow, that's fantastic. When you say that the surveyors want to go sit in the quiet space in the dementia, I mean, that is just like a night and day switch.
Absolutely.
Typically. So wow, that is absolutely fantastic. And not only is it quiet and peaceful, but hopefully it's making a big impact on those surveyors in terms of what's important and what needs to be rated as quality care.
Absolutely. And so part of our work was to engage the regulators and the folks from the state in understanding what this is. And so part of our approach is making sure that everything that we're doing to make somebody comfortable, whether it's, Mrs. Jones wants to, make sure that she has her makeup on every day, or, Mr. Johnson likes to nap after lunch. And so we put that in the care plan. And once that's in the care plan, it's codified, it's part of the documentation, and we're following the care plan. If we didn't let Mr. Johnson nap after lunch, he would be really grumpy and annoyed and distressed, and maybe become, much more difficult to, quote, manage. But because we understand what his routines are and what makes him comfortable, that's what works.
Wow,
From my point of, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Harry.
From my point of view, one thing that is a necessity in any care package is meeting the spiritual needs of that resident. Now, when I go around talking to various care facilities, that's probably one of the first questions I bring up about, do you have any spiritual programs here? And most of them are very proud of it because they say, once a month we have a minister come in and have a group and they talk and so forth and so on. I said, well, once a month is fine, but what happens if I want to pray someday? Is there something there that will allow me to have my spiritual relief? I mean, it's nice to have things nice and pretty and things like that, but I dwell more on the emotional side. Now, a lot of times people say, well, as they advance, they lose the religion. And I'm here to tell you, no, that's not true.
Well, I couldn't, again, I agree with you more, and indeed, the spiritual practice, if it's important to somebody, if it's part of who they are and what makes them comfortable, it might be helping one of the residents, say the rosary every day, or do her, pray, or connect with members of her church or synagogue who come in once a week to connect with that individual. And we also do here at CaringKind, and have been for the past 10 years, we do a interfaith workshop with the healthcare chaplaincy called Keeping Faith in Mind, Addressing Spiritual Care for Persons with Dementia and Their Families. And that is limited to the attendees are chaplains and other clergy. And this year we'll be doing it again on March 30th here in New York City. And it's always a sold-out event. There's a tremendous need on the side of the clergy and the chaplains who are providing spiritual care for residents in nursing homes and hospitals and other settings to understand how best to minister to and address the spiritual needs of people with dementia and their family caregivers.
Well, that's great to hear, because I do think that is an important piece for many people in their life, and a critical thing to keep in mind. Can you give us an example of Comfort Matters in action? Maybe a story or so that you have heard from staff, or maybe something you've personally seen.
Mm-hmm. There are many of them. One of them was a story that I alluded to earlier about a man named Anthony who had been moved through several emergency rooms and psychiatric facilities and various residences where he was continually rejected because he looked combative and he was upset and he was, he needed to be medicated, and so he was really in some ways just not no longer connected to the world around him. When he first moved into one of the homes, Isabella, that we work with, they had difficulty getting him to bed at night. He didn't want to go to bed at the usual time, and they had difficulty getting up in the morning the next day for breakfast. He would resist. He'd emphatically push people away, push the staff away. And when they brought his wife in, she said, Anthony had been a doorman who had worked the evening shift. So he wasn't going to bed at 9 or 10 at night. He was getting off at work at midnight, and he would stay up until 4. He'd have a sandwich, and then he'd go to bed. And so the staff allowed him to stay up until, early in the morning, give him a snack before going to bed, and then he would sleep until noon the next day. And he'd wake up, and he was much more amenable to getting up and getting dressed and doing the personal care. And so, his wife calls him the poster boy for sleeping late and the poster boy for palliative care. And, she's the one who said, and it's a simple change, but it's not such a simple change, because making sure that they had food around the clock on a snack cart available for him at 4 a.m. before he went to bed is not something that most nursing homes can, do at the snap of their fingers. So he is doing really well. And there are, the exploring with his wife to understand who he was and what his routines were was key to this, and then also being able to implement those changes to make this truly a comfort approach, personalized care plan for him, and that all the shifts needed to shift what they were expecting to do, because the fact that he's now getting up at noon is different for people in the middle of the day shift, and having to, rather than doing morning care, it's now early afternoon care. So those kinds of things. So the facility policies and procedures had to support this flexibility, but the payoff was great, because you had a resident who was no longer combative, no longer upset, no longer distressed, a family member who was really grateful, and he was much easier to care for.
Yeah.
So I think that's, a really good example.
Yeah, my mom, I remember when she was in the nursing home, and they would just, try to get her to go to bed. And she just wanted to stay up and watch David Letterman. And,
right.
And finally, they just let her have her nightie and her robe on, and she went out into the lounge. Everyone else was asleep, and she was just one little happy camper. And it made everybody's life easier,
Yep.
And it was just such a simple thing to be able to do, to get to know somebody. Another thing that I think would fall right into your Comfort Matters that staff did, which I just thought was brilliant, is my mom started believing, she used to watch JAG and a TV show, and she used to believe it as being real. And so she would quiz the staff to see if they knew what was going on in the world. And if she didn't, she would get livid, and she would start with a civics lecture to them. And she's like, you need to know what's going on in this world. And she would just get really riled up. And so the staff took it upon themselves to, they decided that every week one staff person would watch the show JAG. And then they would log what happened during the show so that they could talk with my mom to keep her calm. And it was just such a brilliant, simple little thing to just keep her happy and calm. And everybody had fun with it, had great conversation with it. It wasn't making fun of her in any way when I say they had fun with it, but they were able to engage in her world. Which is just such a critical step. And I know, Harry, you talk about that a lot, about
Yes.
entering the world of the person with dementia. Why don't we go? I can't believe we're flying through our time here so quickly. Can you tell us a little bit, Jed, about some of the results? I know that you've been working on this for a while now, but with Comfort Matters model in the Alzheimer's and dementia patients, can you tell us, has it affected the antipsychotic medications and things that are given?
Absolutely. So we're seeing, we're seeing a lot of kind of basic change in how care is being given, and we're seeing change in how much effort is being given to understanding that individual and finding out what comforts that individual. What are their routines? What do they do for a living? What are the kinds of things that can be used to distract them if they get upset? So we're seeing those kinds of basic, I think, shift in how care is being thought about and how care is being implemented. But there are some other very, concrete results that we've been able to measure and that the homes continue to measure on an ongoing basis. We're seeing a decrease in what's called resistance to care. That's when somebody's trying to go through personal care, bathing, grooming, shaving, toothbrushing, etc. They, if you do it at a time when the individual is going to be more tolerate it or be more amenable to it, you're not going to have the resistance. And so, and if you do it in a way that understands which approach is best for that individual, you're going to see a decrease in this resistance to care. We're seeing an increase in staff knowledge and in their appreciation of palliative care for people with dementia. And we are seeing a decrease in the use of nutritional supplements, because people are having their caloric needs met through food. Food is a great source of pleasure. And I think even people who are quite advanced in the disease, if you pop chocolate in their mouth, they're going to oh, this is good, and they're going to enjoy it. And that kind of recognizing that even people with very advanced dementia can still appreciate and enjoy and be part of this very kind of sensory pleasure of good food and food that they like. One good example is I remember from our partners at Cobble Hill that they went out to the grocery store to find somebody's, he really liked a particular brand of frozen pizza, and that's what he would have as a snack. And they went out and got it for him and made it for him, and it was just giving him what was meaningful and familiar to him. We are seeing a change in the use of antipsychotic medications, so we're seeing a decrease, an appropriate decrease in that, and we're seeing an increase in the use of pain medications. Sometimes it's just a Tylenol. And what used to happen is that when people were on Tylenol, it was on a PRN, or the person has to, request it, as needed. Well, the person with dementia can't tell you when it's needed. So the medical, directors were putting it on a standing order, if it was appropriate, and seeing that people were resting better at night and that they were less distressed. So sometimes even something as simple as a Tylenol can make a difference. And then sometimes more, stronger medications needed to be used judiciously and appropriately, but they can greatly reduce the pain that many older people have, of arthritic pain and so forth. So everybody, wants to be comfortable, and the quality of life. And you just have to think about each individual who's listening. When you are in pain, you are often distracted. You can be grumpy, you can be cranky, you can't think clearly because you're focused on what's causing the distress and the pain. When the pain is alleviated, your life has changed. And so that's, pain is such an important kind of, one of the pillars of this program is being able to recognize, identify, and appropriately treat pain in people who can't tell you, my knee hurts, or my ankle hurts, or my back hurts. The results have been wonderful. I will also say that the results in terms of the team building and the connection on the units, cross disciplines, has been phenomenal. The support of the administrators and the endorsement of the administrators, their firm belief in this is just extraordinary. And when we published our guidelines and sent them out, and they've now gone to about, I think, 3,000 nursing homes around the country, we are hearing from people who are genuinely interested in improving care for people with dementia in the advanced stages using this approach. So I think that's one of the great, benefits, one of the great results of our project.
Well, and one of the things...
And this...
go ahead, Harry.
I keep butting in, I'm sorry.
No, you are fine.
Can this model be used also? I know it can be used in care facilities and stuff like that, but can it also be used for at-home care?
Absolutely. So we have a very extensive dementia care training program for home care workers here at CaringKind in New York City. And so we have integrated these approaches into our teaching about providing really superb care for people with dementia. And we are looking at how we can, I'd like to see these principles applied in hospitals. I'd like to see them applied in home care, in the provision of home care. It just, this makes such intuitive sense, and it's going to be a benefit to everybody who is going to receive the care. So, and our partners at Beatitude, and Tina Alonso, who's the director of the Dementia Care Program, the Comfort Matters Program at Beatitudes, says that, that this is something that's not limited to residential care, but really is applicable to any person with dementia at any stage of the disease, actually, across the continuum of the disease and in any setting.
Yeah, I think that's great to hear. Will you be doing training programs for family in the future?
We actually have done some education programs for family members, understanding kind of what are the core principles of palliative care for people with advanced dementia. We will continue to do that. We do that through our newsletter. And so we will, we also trained all of our support group leaders. We have 95 support groups here in New York City so that they understand these principles and can use that to, improve the support group experience for the members of their support groups. So, yes, we have really integrated and adopted palliative care as a core principle for CaringKind because we know it works, and it is of such value to people. Often you hear, and I'm sure you hear this, that in dementia, that when somebody gets a diagnosis of dementia, there's nothing you can do. I so strongly disagree. That I know there's so much we can do to improve the lives of people who are living with dementia and for those family members who are caring for them. And this approach puts people on the side of therapy and of something positive that we can do to improve the lives of people living with dementia.
Wonderful. Harry, anything you want to add?
I have dementia, so of course I have a page full of notes here that I don't understand. Is the website and stuff going to be posted on Alzheimer's Speaks website for you that we can reference it to get to the Comfort Matters?
Yep, that will go live. And we'll have their helpline and that people can call or that they can email, and then they'll be able to go direct to their site. The website itself is CaringKind, CaringKind.org. That's CaringKind, NYC.org. And their helpline is 646-744-2900. Again, that's 646-744-2900. And again, you can go to CaringKindNYC.org for more information. One thing I would like to be able to add to the blog post, though, Jed, is after the show, if you can get me the link to the guidelines so we can send people to that directly, I think that would be really helpful.
Right. They can do CaringKindNYC.org/palliative care, and you'll get it.
Okay. Well,
then we can send that to you, Lori. No problem.
Okay.
We'd be delighted to do that.
Wonderful. Well, any last comments that you have, Jed?
I think, this is still a work in progress, and we'd like to see more homes engaged in this. And I want to especially thank, our partners at Beatitudes and Tina and her team, who've been just so instrumental in teaching us and helping us bring this to New York City. And I also want to acknowledge the 3 nursing homes that have been, committed to this project and have really made an investment and done the hard work, and that would be Isabella Geriatrics and Jewish Home, the new Jewish Home, and Cobble Hill Healthcare Center in Brooklyn. So they've done a phenomenal job.
Oh, it's fantastic to hear, and I think you guys are doing wonderful work, and I give you all kudos. I know breaking off from the association is never an easy decision when you decide to take another path, and it's so wonderful to hear that your continued work is moving forward, and you are adding so much to community value. So thank you for that, and please let us know as you roll out other initiatives. We would love to help you spread the word any way that we can here on Alzheimer's Speaks.
Wonderful.
Great. And Harry, as always, I love having you as my co-host. You always add so much to the show, so thank you so much. I'm going to wrap up here with just some program highlights. If you haven't listened to some of our latest radio shows, feel free to hit our archives. We've been doing this for years, so we have tons of shows. But we just had Talking with Dementia with Dr. Macy Smith. We also had a recent show called Love's Light Can Remove the Darkness of Dementia. We've talked about music as a gift. We had Dementia Raw training on. Lots of fun people and sharing their passions in the world of dementia. As for our studio here at Alive and Social, you might want to check out a show called What's for Dinner Tonight with Rachel Perrin, who is the culinary director for Kowalski's Market. And she just does a really short episode. It's only 10 to 15 minutes long, but it's perfect if you're trying to figure out what the heck's for dinner tonight. You can also go to Kowalskis.com and get a full seasonal menu suggestion is available to you there. And Kowalski's is KOWALSKIS, Kowalskis.com. I also want to point out our latest dementia chats. We talked about moving and construction and remodeling and how that can affect a person with dementia. You can just go to alzheimerspeaks.com, and on our homepage you can click right on that, or you can go to our initiatives and projects page and find out more there. As for our blog, we had a couple of beautiful poems submitted regarding Valentine. So one is called The Caregiver's Valentine by Karen Brenner, who is the author of You Say Goodbye and We Say Hello. And another was an anonymous poem that was given to me when I was traveling and doing some screenings of the film His Neighbor Phil. And I titled that post called Valentine's Day, The Side Not Talked About, the darker side, which is really about a beautiful poem on grief and gratitude. Last, I want to give a shout out to the Call Alert Center, which is a wonderful, wonderful organization that is very reasonable priced if you want to protect your loved one in case they would happen to wander. You don't want to wait till the last minute with something like that, but they can push out via social media within 10 minutes and work with the police department, a fabulous flyer, to help you secure your loved one. Last, I haven't talked about the memory cafes for a while, so go to our projects and initiatives to find out more about memory cafes, which are for people with early memory loss and their care partners. They're really a place to gather and build community. Very last, I better mention or I'll be in trouble, we're going to be doing a caregiver dementia cruise November 30th, and we'll have more details probably in the next week, but just mark that on your calendar. If you're looking to go on vacation, we're going to be heading to the Bahamas, and this will be a true family cruise, so all are welcomed, but we will be having a lot of education as well, and our goal is to shift dementia care from crisis to comfort. Have a blessed week, everyone. Talk soon. Bye now.
Hi, everyone. This is Meredith from the Senior Fitness with Meredith podcast, where I discuss all things for seniors, from fitness, your health and wellness journeys, how to be all over strong and beyond. I also have my mini podcast called Motivation with Meredith. It's a great, quick motivational pick-me-up for your days. Join me, listen now, search for Senior Fitness with Meredith on your favorite podcast platform.